coach and counselor explores how today's youth benefit from intentional, empowering adult leadership. Each episode blends perspectives from coaches, mentors, players, and mental health professionals shaping the next generation on and off the field. From tough conversations to inspiring transformations, we dive into what it takes to support young people in today's world. All right, welcome to the show where we have Randy Gale on. If you're at all have any sort of experience in the softball world, let alone in the Colorado softball world, you know who Randy is. Longtime coach in the club world. He's a 20-year veteran coach, 13 years in the club space specifically. Most of that with the Firecrackers organization. Had many great teams that came up through the ranks in Colorado, represented Colorado really well. Member of the USA Softball Board and the RMFL commissioner here. Randy, welcome to the show. I guess, well, before that too, or in addition to that, also coached at the high school level, assistant coach, a couple Final Four finishes for Frederick softball, high school softball team. So quite the accolades, quite the introduction. Randy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Tony. Glad to be here. Thanks for asking me to come by. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to just, shed some light as to, not only all the great things that have occurred, particularly in softball, but, in Colorado softball. Again, if you know Colorado softball, it's evolved, it's changed, most all of that for the better over the last 20 years. I'd say even more so in the last 10 years. I remember my daughter starting in the, as a 10-year-old in softball. It was not nearly what it is today. And so a lot of positive things have happened throughout the years, and I want to get into those things. But before we do, again, anyone that knows Randy knows there's some things that are going on behind the scenes, some struggles at home. Provide us an update with really what has turned into some good news lately with Nicole. So give us the background a little bit, and then tell us where you guys are today.
Sure. So for those that don't know, my wife in March was diagnosed stage 4 colon cancer. Was quite a bit of a shock. There was no signs of it outside of going to the ER for a stomach ache that she had for 3 days. We would have no idea. So we've been through the ringer with that. We're dealing with that right now. She's went through one surgery in March to get rid of that, and then she's been on chemo here through 7 rounds so far. She's been responding really well. We've been fortunate. Power of prayer is big. Lots of people in our corner. Community has been amazing. The softball community in general has been amazing to us, which is a bit overwhelming, honestly. You would think you coach all these years that you're making an impact, and you really truly don't understand probably how big of an impact you have on people and families until you yourself have getting kind of knocked to your knees. And so I first and foremost, we need to thank everybody and anybody who's sent us stuff, mentioned us, prayed for us. Like, that's huge. And it doesn't go unnoticed. We really appreciate it, and we love you all. And that being said, she has recently, the latest scan showed that the cancer has resolved everywhere except for her liver. So she is scheduled for a liver surgery. Her numbers are actually really, really good. And so we are very hopeful that she's going to beat this thing. And coming from a stage 4, that's big, right? But we took this fight on, and you and I are very close. And you kind of know how our motto is like the Gales don't lose. So we took that fight to this too, and we don't expect to lose this either. So that's about how she's doing. I appreciate you checking in on her. Means a lot.
Yeah, and not to turn this into the Joe Rogan podcast with some non-traditional methods, but you like everything that you've done throughout your life and your career, you guys all jumped in and said, all right, yeah, we're going to win this thing. And you're not winning it just simply by traditional methods. You're doing some other, non-traditional
Yeah.
non-Western medicine sort of stuff too. Any you want to add a little into that at all? I mean, again, not no,
Well,
we're not going Joe Rogan here.
yeah, yeah. Here's what I will say. Um, you know, you and your yourself, your spouse, or whoever your advocate is, you're the best person to advocate for yourself and your own health. Um, when you get a diagnosis like this, you're dealing shock and awe, right? You don't know where to go, you don't know who to turn to, you don't know what to do. It's really like, I mean, it's unlike anything you can imagine if you've not experienced it. But what I will tell you is, what the way we approach it is, we threw everything at it. We're throwing everything at it. Why would you not? That's our motto. You know, we're doing conventional Western medicine. We've done, some, more integrative therapies. We've done, more faith-based healing. We've done everything. And we continue to do everything, and we'll do whatever it takes to win. And so, yeah, there's some items that we probably do that Western medicine hasn't yet really got there, but we have great oncologists that are very open-minded and understand, like this is my wife's life, right?
Yeah,
And you can tell me what you think, and that's great, and we got your support. But we have a lot of people support. We have a lot of doctors that we've dealt with who support us, and really, you have to be your own advocate and make sure that at the end of the day, you are comfortable with every decision you've made to make sure you can prolong your life and be here as long as possible. And so that's what we've done.
great, and it's worked. Obviously, it's worked really well
Hmm.
on many levels. So keep it up. We the support comes from us, but I think everyone in this
Yeah,
who will end up watching this or listening to this comes from them as well. Well, and
appreciate it.
obviously life got flipped upside down there, but specifically let's keep it to softball. Flipped upside down your coaching career, and then
Mhm.
smacks your daughter Peyton in the face a little bit too in her senior year. Let's first talk about what transpired with your coaching career and decisions that were made there, and
Yeah,
then the impact that it made on Peyton's last couple months of her college career.
yeah, sure. So due to the diagnosis, obviously I stepped away. I've sort of retired from coaching at this point. It was tough. It was challenging. We had a really, really good team this year. A very, very solid team that was going to do, I thought, was going to probably be our best team since our daughters played together. So, I was very hopeful for what our team was going to undertake this year, and thought that we would be on a national landscape again and doing great things. Unfortunately, right, I had to step away and put my focus where it needed to be, and so that's how my coaching career has ended to this point. Like, I stepped away from high school. I stepped away from all facets, really, outside of supporting the girls that were still on the team in any manner that I could. They know they could always call me if they need me to call a college coach or a recruiter, or however they needed help. If I could do it, I'm still there for them. Like these kids, once they've played for you, for me at least, they're always my kids. Like, no matter where they go in life or what they end up doing, like, once you played for me, like I truly care about them, and love them, and hope that they all succeed whatever they do. So that's where I'm at right now. Does that mean that I'll step away from the game forever? I don't know. It really, at this time, yeah, right. If you were to ask me right now today, the answer would be yeah, I'm done. And I had a great run and amazing time, and have some great memories, and got to be part of fantastic families that I know I have got a relationship that I'll have for the rest of my life, which there's nothing can replace that. As far as Peyton goes, yeah. So the diagnosis came right about spring break. So right when she was getting started into league play of college, um, it kind of coincided with she had gotten a concussion. So she was already going to be out for a week. And what happened is we ended up flying her home for my wife's surgery. She spent about a week with us, and then we flew her back. That's tough, right? Mentally was extremely challenging. Not knowing what's going on with your mom, it's a tough deal. The team at Francis Marion was amazing. The family's amazing. I can't even tell you what they did to lift us up as a family. They've been amazing. The coach bent over backwards, was willing to do whatever it took for Peyton just to be there, to be supported, understanding that, she's in South Carolina, so it's not like she has family or anybody there. And her roommates were truly sisters. Her whole team. I mean, they designated the remaining of the season to Nicole. The first game back, they designated to her. And funny enough, Peyton's very first game back playing for her mom, she hit a nice, I think it was 2 or 3 run home run, and the crowd went crazy. The team, it was big. It was a crying moment, I will
Yeah.
tell you. I don't get that emotional, but I can tell you I did shed a tear when that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
Uh,
that floors me when that stuff like that happens. I mean, I have chill on my arms right now, and I always get a chill down my spine when those moments happen. And in people's careers and professional careers, you see it on TV. It's an unbelievable moment when there's just, if you don't believe, you definitely are curious after something like that
you're
happens.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the mental fortitude, right, of those athletes to be, I mean, those are the true, in my head, true athletes that can compartmentalize something as big as your mother having been diagnosed with a disease, and you can still go out and execute and be able to compartmentalize that. And that says a lot. It said a lot to me about who Peyton is as a person and how she will be able to handle things moving forward in her life.
Yeah. Which is honestly like part of why we have this podcast, right? Is I think in the day and age of social media, everyone talks about or is shown all of the great. You made this play, you hit this thing, you did this thing, right? But no one really talks enough about the struggles that go on
Mhm.
behind the scenes, and you know that we definitely don't want people to have to go through this level of struggle. But struggle always happens, right? It's always an emotional roller coaster through people's careers. Um, this one just happened to be a little bit deeper, and that knife cuts a little bit deeper in this moment for you and for Peyton. But as you said, I think the ups and downs throughout her playing career allowed her to handle this situation, I think, with some grace, and will continue to make her a better person in her next endeavor in her career.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Like, that old saying, right? Be nice to everybody because you don't know what they're going through. It really holds true to everything. Like, sports specifically, right? Like uh, as a coach over the years, I always tried to tell the girls, like, listen, you got all this outside distraction going on. Let the field be your sanctuary. Let it be the place that you can come and just kind of let everything else go and just relax on and enjoy the field, right? The grass, the air, the success you have. Even enjoy the failures you're having on the field because you can correct those and you can control those. And so for me, I think it's you don't, you're right, you're always challenged with something it's in your life. And I mean that's why sports is great, right? It teaches us um how to deal with challenges. I mean, I don't know what I would have done or how I would have been or how I would have acted had my mom not had me in sports since pretty much the day I could walk, right up through high school. And I think that sports in general teaches these young athletes a lot, a lot.
Yeah, I was kind of in back of my head while you were saying that, had a league of their own. This used to be my playground. Kind of singing to myself in the
Yeah,
background there
right,
of like what it
right.
what it does. But so now, like, reflecting on your coaching career, right? Is yeah,
Hmm.
like, be, I guess, be cognizant of what uh what people are going through, or be aware that people might be going through some struggles. Um, do you reflect now and go, man, I wonder if I was too hard on that kid back in 1921 or 19 two
Right.
thousand or 2019 or 2021, or like, I remember that girl having that moment. Was I too hard on her, or would I have changed anything? Do you reflect on that now?
I mean, I think you always do that. I mean, as a coach, I would do that even after any conversation. Probably. But I mean, after you coach for quite a while, you kind of understand like you are who you are as a coach, right? And the players that you end up coaching are generally going to be players that have gravitated to you for one reason or another. And as long as and in Colorado landscape, like people know like what coaches do and how kind of how they are and how they act and what that expectation is going from that team or another team. But um, so to really kind of answer that question, I mean, yes, kind of like there we and you're aware of this. We had a young lady on our team that had to deal with an eating disorder. And there was, after the fact, after you learn that, then when something like that happens, you're like, well, dang, was she dealing with this when I was thinking it was something else?
Mm.
And should I have handled that differently? I don't know. But if you don't know what's kind of going on, generally, you're going to be who you are. I would say if you played for me or you ask players that have played for me, I'm an intense coach. But they know that I love them and I care about them and I always want the best for them. So I'm always going to challenge any player um, to their fullest ability. I want them to succeed more than they want to succeed themselves. I feel like that sometimes. I see greatness in all the kids that play for me. And so my job as a coach is to try and get that out of them and have them believe the same thing, right? Like if they could only see what I see in my head, they would know why I'm so intense or why I'm pushing. But at the same time, I think that if you want to be a great coach and want to make an impact, you have to make sure that you praise them as much as you get on them. You have to tell them when they're doing a good job, when they've executed things you've been asking them to execute, and celebrate that. Don't just say it. Like I would tell you, a lot of the girls that I coach, man, I'm the biggest fan. When they execute a sacrifice bunt, or they get a squeeze on, or they move the runner from first to second, and we had to have that runner in scoring position, and the next batter comes up and hits a shot to single, and now we won the game. Like I celebrate like nobody's business, right? They know that they're very important in what they're doing and how they executed that meant everything.
Yeah, and I think the proof's a little bit in the pudding, right? Because you've had this ability to, take a team throughout their career, have them graduate out, go on to college, play there or not, which is okay as well. And then now or recently come back and be your assistant coaches. Like, tell me how fulfilling and rewarding that is to have girls that you coach for five
Mhm.
to 10 years, and then now they're your assistant coaches.
I mean, that's awesome. Like, and some of those girls, it's weird because of that team that we had from basically tens on through. Um, some of the most impactful players or impactful relationships were created with some kids that didn't join us until a little bit later, honestly, until like 16s. And a couple of those kids have come back, and maybe it was from where they were coming from. Maybe it was just the relationship that we had built as a coach and a player that was impactful to them because it was a different way of hearing something. But when they come back, we encourage that. I always encourage. I've told all of my players, hey, I expect you to come back and give back to this game, right? Especially the ones that are playing in college, because they had somebody they looked up to when they were coming through. We would bring in college players and help coach. We always had somebody else coming back to try and get back to the game to keep fostering that love, right? So it's super important. And when they come back, it's awesome to see because it's like they truly enjoy the game. They love the game. They're not just there because mom and dad said you're going to play a sport. They're there because they actually love the game and they can give so much back to the girls that are going through what they had to go through. Right? You and I, we're guys. We see the game through a male's eyes, right? We don't understand all the things that a female is going to go through throughout their playing days. And so to have somebody that has that experience, that's like something we can't offer. And why it's so important as a coach to bring those type of people back into your dugout, right? Like you have to realize, I always realized I didn't know everything. I never thought I did, right? I thought it was more important to have more coaches in the dugout doing certain roles because I couldn't be everywhere or be everything to everybody. And nor did I even know how to relate sometimes in a certain situation. So it was important that I had female coaches in my dugout. So I could say, hey, I'm not really sure I understand what she's going through. Would you mind talking to her and seeing if we can, get something figured out?
Yeah, I noticed that throughout your career, you always had ex softball players that were your assistant coaches. I mean, literally every single year from what I can remember.
Mhm.
Do you think that's, maybe failure is not the right word, but is it a bit of a failure of the current state of affairs of softball where we just don't have enough women in coaching other women in softball? I mean, there's a lot of male coaches in softball, right?
Yeah. Well, I honestly don't think that there's a lack of female coaches anymore. I really don't. I think the administrations now, at least at the collegiate level, because I mean, I know I've applied at a few positions. You're not even looked at if you're not a female, and I don't think that's the right answer either. I think you have to look at what a person has done in their career, what they have put out, and the relationships they built with the people that they have coached to really understand what kind of a good coach is. Um, I don't think there's a I don't think there's a failure in a sense that there's not enough female coaches. I think the failure is in the responsibility of a coach to bring back alumni players to give back to the game, because these girls they're not going to come if they don't know that they're wanted,
Mhm.
right? If you tell or you put an expectation on them when they're playing for you, hey, you see so and so's coming back here, I expect you to come back when you come home from college on a break to give back to the current team, right? To share their knowledge or to let them know what they're in for, because you didn't know until you got there. And it means so much more coming from you who is a current player than from the old coach, right? Who's been coaching for 20 years, right? Like it just means so much more. They're in it right there. They can tell you, they can give you an example that happened a couple months ago.
So we're about halfway through here, and we gotta take a quick break for our
Okay.
commercial sponsor. Let me pose a question to you to think about. Um, Long 20-year coaching career, but is there one single moment that stands out in your career as like one of the most special moments for you? Think about that. I'll be right back.
As we're talking about the challenges coaches face with young athletes, it reminds me of something that affects every youth sports organization, the administrative nightmare that can pull coaches away from actually coaching. I recently spoke with Jennifer from the Riverside Youth Soccer League, and she told me something that really stuck with me. She said, "We were spending more time managing registrations and chasing down forms than we were developing players." Sound familiar? That's exactly why organizations across the country are turning to OperationPlayerAssist.com. They specialize in handling all those behind the scenes headaches that eat up your time. Registration systems that actually work, automated communication tools that keep parents informed without blowing up your phone, and emergency response protocols that give you confidence when things go sideways. Jennifer's League saw immediate results. Registration time cut in half, parent complaints about communication dropped to almost zero, and here's the best part: coaches could focus on coaching instead of paperwork. If you are tired of administrative chaos stealing time from what really matters, developing young athletes, I encourage you to schedule a free 15-minute demo with the team at OperationPlayerAssist.com. See firsthand how they can streamline your operation. Visit OperationPlayerAssist.com and click Schedule Demo to book your 15-minute consultation, because when the administrative burden is lighter, everyone wins: coaches, parents, and most importantly, the kids. OperationPlayerAssist.com, supporting the game behind the game.
Back after the commercial break. Question we posed to you, Randy, was what's that one single moment in your 20-year coaching career that kind of sticks out and is one of the best moments you ever had?
You really can't do that to me because you know, in 20 years there, I mean, there's so many can't even count. I'm going to give you this. So, from a playing perspective, the one moment that sticks out to me as coaching is when our girls walked off a game against an Illinois team in Top Gun. We were down 8 runs, 8-0, and the team was not being very polite to our girls. And we literally walked them off 8 and 9 runs in the seventh inning. They switched out pitchers. They could not stop us. And the whole complex, it was the last game of the night, was there watching us play, and we won. And that team, like they celebrated like nobody's business. It was amazing. The fans went wild because they had seen, around the complex kind of had this team sort of had already created a perception of who they were. And so the whole complex was rooting for us to come back and win, and we did it. Everybody lost their marbles. It was great. And that team, went on to finished top five in Top Gun that year, which was amazing. Like at that point, I don't know that any Colorado team had done that good at Top Gun at that point. So that was pretty awesome. And that to me is the one moment because we have it on video. And then we have the celebration of the girls in the vans afterwards. I mean, I still watch that. That gets me hyped every time. And it was great. And there's some really talented players on that team. So it's fun to see them because, a lot of them just graduated this past year or the year before. So that's my one playing moment. I'm sure you can remember that one. And then as a coach, I got to kind of there's a couple moments that stick out to me as a coach that impacted me. And I've had two players players have written me, right? But two players specifically wrote letters to me in a class that they had at school that, I can't even tell you the impact that they had on me, because of where it came from and what they told me and how my impact was on them as a 16-year-old girl and what they were going through and just what they needed at that moment and how that structure that I brought and the team that we brought was everything they needed to get through that stage of life and how thankful they were for me. And that to me meant more than anything, right? It's why we do what we do. And then most recently, one of my players from this past season, after I left, she was playing on another team. She had a freak accident in the championship game out in Grand Junction. She's playing second base. She went out to field like a little Texas Leaguer pop fly. The center fielder came in, dove into her leg, fractured her tibia, fibula, tore her knee up. Ooh. She's got a rod put in, emergency surgery. She's at the hospital. Mind you, I've stepped away from the team, so she's playing for a different team now. She was with her mom. I believe she called her dad, who was coaching in Wyoming for another team. And then I think she called me laying in the bed because all she wanted to do was talk to Coach Randy. And
that's amazing.
I don't know. I get a little emotional because I don't know that she understands the impact that had for me.
Yeah.
And that moment of where she's just like, she's on her hospital bed and she literally reached out to me and told Mom, I just need to talk to Coach Randy. Like that was something I needed when I needed it.
Yeah. Which is, something we don't talk about enough is like, we always talk about the impact that as a coach that we make to the kid, to the athlete, but right. No one talks enough about what that athlete does to us as coaches and the impact it makes on our lives as parents, or as human beings, as family people. So, awesome story. Second time, Randy. You got to stop this. That's the second time you give me goosebumps.
I know. Well, it's funny because the first time I think I cried as a coach because of a happy thing, not that I cried because of bad things, but was when Alex literally committed before her freshman year, because it was like we were told by so many people we would never have a Division I athlete coming out of Colorado. It was so hard. It was never going to happen. And Alex was our youngest on that team and our first committed, and she went Division I. And it was just a sign of things that were coming from that team. But I remember because, obviously our daughters are super close. So it was really personal to me. And it was such an impact for me that, we broke the mold. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care what they said. We didn't care what everybody told us we couldn't do. Right. Again, we were going to win. We were going to do it. And she was the first to do it. And that was like the first time that I got emotional as a coach because of the success of somebody that, we coached. And it meant so much.
Yeah. So that's 11, 12 years ago, somewhere in that. Yeah. maybe not that long. It's a long time ago, but and that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about is, man, the last 10 years in softball has in Colorado has been an amazing evolution. Right now, we
Mm,
have countless. Barely were we putting anyone at the level of Division 1 out of Colorado. Now we have countless people not only playing Division 1 but succeeding at Division 1, which is the second
mm.
most important part. But then not just at the Division 1 level, at the Power 4 level, and then succeeding at the Power 4 level. So, yes, softball in Colorado has come a long way, and you and others have played a pretty huge role in there. Yeah, anything you want to add to the to that ride that we've been on
Yeah.
here? Pitchers,
Well, and
hitters,
I
like
like to,
everything.
yeah, well, and I also want to mention, like, even I know we always kind of get fixated around the Division 1, and even I have done that, in the past. But it's so important to know that at every level, like Colorado is putting players at every level of this game in college that are winning championships. We had a girl join a Division 2 national championship the very next year she graduated. My daughter, number 2 ranked team in national at Division 2 this past year. Like, they're succeeding, and they're not just they're primetime players on teams too, right? So I think a lot of that has to do with sort of when I started coming into coaching travel ball. I fixated not on Colorado. Like, for me, Colorado, and I told my girls this all the time, Colorado doesn't mean anything to me. I didn't care about a single tournament in Colorado outside of, the Sparkler at the time. Like, I didn't care because that didn't put them on the landscape. I only cared about how we did at a national level playing field. I only challenged my girls to, use Colorado as work, get better here so that when we go out of state, we can compete and we can win. You know, a year ago, the team that we had uh, finished top 8 at top club nationals. Like, that never happened when we first started. Like, very rarely did that happen. I think Triple Crown's team was like, and the Stars back in the day, and even maybe the Sticks were like really the only teams that ever competed at a national level. Next level I think was when we were coming in, they were leaving, but there was really one or two teams total. Now there's a lot of teams, which we can get into that discussion if you want, but uh, there's a lot of teams that actually understand. The coaches have understood or picked up. Hey, man, if we want to get our girls at that next level, we got to challenge them to play the best in the country, not the best in this state, because that's not going to make them any better.
Yeah, which, and I wasn't planning on having the conversation about Operation Player Assist, but, that comes into this role of, being a cold weather state, you need to find
Mm-hmm.
quality, large indoor facilities, which aren't cheap, right? And then you have to travel more because you have to go to
Mm-hmm.
where the talent is only once a year with the sparkler, and Colorado's blessed with that,
Right.
that the talent will come to us, but you have to travel more, train more, and especially work on defense more because in indoors, because the outdoor opportunities just aren't as much. So I know you had some successful campaigns with Operation Player Assist, trying to raise money. Any kind of add to that, if you would, of trying to keep costs down for your girls as much as possible, while at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, using a successful fundraiser to help offset those costs.
Oh yeah, for sure. And actually, Operation Player Assist was great for us. The last couple of years, helped us raise a lot of funds actually to help with those travel costs. Every year, it seems that the cost of the game goes up for whatever reason, right? And it's not something that a coach wants to have to bring the parents to say, hey, fees are gone up a couple $100, but that's because this tournament have gone up, 500,000 bucks. Um, but it's something you have to do. So in the Operation Player Assist, it makes it super easy, right? It was like it's an email campaign. Um, you have to make it easy and accessible for players and parents. Parents don't like fundraising. Like, nobody really enjoys doing it, but it's sort of part of the beast, right? You have nobody, unless I don't know that many people that have super deep pockets that can sponsor entire teams travel and all this. And to really compete, you have to travel. That's my belief. My core belief is to really compete from a small market, small region. You have got to travel to where the talent is. Otherwise, you're not going to get a reputation. You're going to you'll be the best talent in your region. And that's great if, say, you're California, Texas, Florida. But if you're in Colorado, being the best in Colorado doesn't mean anything to the college coaches generally. They
Mm-hmm.
don't, not unless you know them personally. And even then, they want to know what you did against the Texas, California, Florida, Arizona teams. Like that's who you got to play against. And so, you know, I would say that if Operation Player Assist for us was the easiest fundraiser we ever did, the most money we ever raised, and barely had to work at it. So it has a great platform. It was a great incentives, right? That's the other thing, right? How many other fundraisers do you do that have incentives that give back to the players? Um, you really don't. Like your incentive is, hey, raise as much money as you can, but you're only going to get 60% of what you raised, right? That's tough, right? Because a lot of times you're doing a lot harder fundraisers than an email campaign. So for me, I thought it was great. I thought, I was very appreciative that we got that opportunity the last couple of years. And it helped keep costs down for the families, which is super important, right? Families are the ones that take the brunt of the travel. And everybody has the dream of their kids playing in college. Like they do, even like at 10U, usually it's like, it's weird. Like to get in that travel ball, everybody's going to be, the best elite athlete in college. And it's really hard to get there and it costs a lot of money. And you're really going to fall short a lot of the times achieving what you think in your head might be achievable, but understanding like if any kid gets to college and plays, that's huge. It's a huge deal. And not only that, it teaches them it teaches them such a different work ethic to have to be a collegiate athlete and do school and hold yourself accountable to all of that. It's so much growth for individuals. They don't even realize. I mean, we know as, older like if we employ people like, we know what we're looking for in an employee that we're going to hire, but like they don't understand what they already got coming out the gate because of what they've been accountable for. And so that's huge. That's a really big thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this a few times that throughout my career as a, say, a vice president of some level, I've always tried to hire people who are either ex-military or ex-athletes for all those things that you just said, right? That's the
Mhm.
discipline, the time management, calendar management, ability to work as a team as opposed to an individual, going for a common goal. I mean, the list goes on as to why they're typically a better fit, especially in within working within a team, working within a system, because they've really been trained almost like, accidentally, right? They've been trained, that
Yeah, right.
the game within a game is you think that you're being trained to be a softball player. The reality is you're being trained on how to be a better person in life and be
Right.
better within your profession. So when they do leave the sport, which everyone does, they're always better at their profession because they can handle a lot of different tasks and workloads, and do them a little bit more with ease and less pressure. And they're typically more, they're well rounded and better communicators. I'm going to go on and on, but that's great. And I actually want to go back to, um, yeah, and you challenged me on that, and you're right. Is it's not just the Division One or the Power Fours. I think what's been going really well in the Colorado level, and I think in college sports in general, is trying to making sure that we're investing in the athlete and the family so that way they find the right fit, and that right fit
Mhm.
is where can you go and play, right? Where can you go and play earlier in your career as opposed to later in your career? Where can you go that where you can play and get a good education? And then third being where can you go play, get a great education, and then hopefully it costs very little money for you when it's done. So that way all of your time and investment in the club space has, at least balanced itself out toward the end of your career. Um,
Yeah.
what's
Well,
what do you?
the challenge now though, right? The challenge now is that transfer portal,
Yeah.
right? Because that whole facet that you just explained was sort of the evolution of when we got into it and when we started our coaching. And now as we're coming to 20 years later, even a couple years ago, the transfer portal has changed everything. So even these kids that, you're looking for the right fit, a transfer could come in and totally mix up that whole fit. Everything that you worked for as a high school player coming out, you have this expectation. Um, and unless you're that top 1% of 1%, you're likely not going to make an impact even on, a lower divisional level right off the gate because those coaches now have access to players that are very elite that aren't getting opportunities at a higher level that they decided, hey, I'm going to go in the portal and I want to play. And so now they're taking those spots. So it's really kind of weird how it's kind of pushed back down that high school player to the back to sort of how it was maybe in the 80s, right? Where when you came out of high school, you didn't play in college until you were a junior. Like
Yeah.
it just was what it was. Like that was how it was. And so that's kind of happening again, but in a different manner.
Yeah, and I almost wonder too if they do make this rule change where you get 5 years to play, 5 years to play four, or shoot, even 5 years to play five, right? I wonder
Right.
in baseball, other sports, it's more acceptable to or accepted to go to a junior college. I wonder if that will start to flourish at the softball level, or where people, girls will be a bit more apt to go to a junior college or go to a Division 3 or go to Division 2. It kind of follows my philosophy of go where you can play, go where you can play early in your career.
Right.
Like go to one of those places, a junior college, Division 3, NAIA, Division 2. Go where you can play early, get your education paid for, go where you're going to get an education, and then let the chips fall where they may. If you have
Yeah.
a great freshman year, a great sophomore year, both hit 350 with 15, then you might be able to
Right.
write your own ticket to wherever you want to go at that point, and you might have
Right.
two, three, 400 at bats underneath your belt. You think that'll change?
Yeah. That's, I mean, we could have a whole session just on this conversation in itself, but because it's really, does that kid want to get into the recruiting section again? Like, right. Recruiting is so stressful for these young ladies. They work so hard to get recruited. Then they get recruited, and the ones that succeed don't take time off. Then they realize, hey, now I got to go try and earn my spot in that field. Um, if you're going to that junior college, it's tough because after 2 years, right? Then you're back in that recruiting scene and you're pounding it. Both our daughters had transferred, so we kind of understand how that goes and know what that sort of stress was. And I think that the transfer portal is a good mechanism for the right reasons. Uh, it's being abused also for the wrong reasons. If that I want to get into that, but it's like, if you decided, hey, I was going to go play at the top Division 1 program, knowing that you're not going to play, and then you get upset that you're not playing, and then you jump into the portal to go play at a different institution where you probably should have just signed for in the first place, right? Because that's really where you had the opportunity to play. And so now it's that's kind of, for me, that's sort of the wrong reason to go in. Um, but everybody's got their own choices, and they have their own experience at whatever institution they're at. So you can't really say if it's wrong or right. But in my head, that's kind of what I think is causing sort of an issue. And the portal's kind of even hurting those JUCO kids, right? Because young ladies are using a 4-year institution as a JUCO sort of mechanism to get to another institution. So now you're not only impacting the high school kid, you're impacting the junior college kid who is an All-American junior college kid. And maybe she does get offers, but she's not hitting the Power 4 school, right? That she had hoped for if she was an All-American JUCO, 3 years ago.
Yeah, I had someone on the podcast a couple weeks ago that said, getting recruited out of high school is like dating. Getting recruited out of the transfer portal is like speed dating. Like, you
Yeah.
might have a year to go through the whole dating process from the recruiting out of high school. You have like a month to get it figured it out and going to having phone interviews and doing some
Yeah.
campus
Flying
visits,
from
and
here to
it's like,
there.
bam,
Yeah.
then make a decision. Um, yeah, so challenging question as a follow up there then is like, what causes the other? Is the club sports world of jumping from team to team and club to club causing the issues with the portal, or is it vice versa, right? Are we just not
Yeah.
teaching our kids enough about the whole stick to itiveness of what it takes in order to succeed at this level?
I mean, that's everybody's got an opinion there, buddy. Like,
Well, what's your opinion?
you know,
What's your opinion?
I mean, for me, there's challenges, right? I think the lack of communication to these young ladies is why they hit the transfer portal for when they're not getting playing time or they feel like they're being slighted in some way. If the college coach is communicating effectively to their players and they know where they stand, then there should be no surprises. If you're rolling in and the college coach, because the college coach is going to tell you what you want to hear to get you to come to their school. Mm-hmm. Hey, I see you as being an integral part of my team. You're going to step right in. Yeah, you're going to have to work, but I see you making a huge impact to this program for years to come. Well, now that kid's coming in there thinking this coach loves me. She doesn't have any other recruits. I'm her number one person, and I'm gonna bust my butt. Yeah, but I expect to play. Well, now I show up, and now the coach's demeanor is completely different than it was when she was getting recruited, right? But not only that, the lack of communication, the communication stops happening, and so now these young ladies are just being left to think what they have in their mind, and that's never usually a good thing when somebody's not communicating to you. You've got negative thoughts. What did I do? What am I doing wrong? Why am I not being talked to? Why am I not even getting a chance? Or I get a chance and maybe I struck out in my one at bat, but I hadn't had a bat for, 15 games. What am I supposed to do? Like, how am I supposed to be ready? Our job as a travel coach is to create more instances of that, I think. Hey, pulling kids off of a bench that they might be sitting that game, but putting them in the seventh inning to get an at bat when they didn't think they were going to play that game, or even they weren't ready. They weren't expecting to have to play in that game. Give them that opportunity. Teach them how to execute when they have to have a moment, because that's the only way that they get in the game consistently is if they keep continuing to have a moment. Consistency, right? And that as a college coach, they want consistency. They don't care about the big names necessarily, but if you're consistent and you're consistently getting on base and you're consistently scoring, you're going to find your way on the field, right? But if we don't give them the challenge to learn how to do that, then they're trying to learn that in college, and that's really, really difficult.
But the dilemma. I mean, you've been in that dilemma. The dilemma is, in order to do that, you need to carry a little bit larger of a roster because you need to intentionally not start everyone every single day. If you carry a little bit larger roster, then people aren't going to play every day, and they don't play every day. They're like, well, shoot, I'm paying $5,000 a year for travel softball, and I'm not playing it every day. Why should I be here? I'm going to go be the number one or number two or number three on a different team as opposed to being the number 9 or number 10 or number 11. So, yeah, I mean, I get it that communication is crucial in this process of like, hey, I'm going to put you in very uncomfortable situations. You're going to start some games. You're going to start some games that, if you're the middle infielder, you're my shortstop, I might put you at second because that's what might happen in college. I might put you at third. I might put you in left or right or center. I might put you at DH. I might intentionally not play you, not because you're not worthy of it, but because I want to train you or help you to come off the bench because that's probably a likely scenario for you as a freshman. So I think to your point earlier of communication's crucial in the college world, it's also crucial at the club level, but it's also crucial with parents that they have to buy into that as well. And I think a lot of them don't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got to have that conversation, right? Like if you want to pay to play, then go play rec, right? Then go play the city league that you're paying to play for amount of games and you're going to get to play. You're guaranteed to play. If you're playing travel or elite select ball, whatever you want to call it, you're paying not just for your kid to have the opportunity to play, but you're paying for everything that comes with that. All the lessons that they're getting when they're not playing, when they're going through practice and they're earning their spot, like that all comes with what you're paying for. But if you don't, as a coach, have that explanation to your parents up front, then you're setting yourself up to have a lot of issues. I will tell you, me personally, I made it a point to talk to every single player when I wasn't playing them or I hadn't planned to play them on a Sunday and let them know why. And so that if a parent ever came up to me as a coach, I could first say, well, did you talk to your daughter? Does she understand why she's not playing in this situation? And if she said, no, I hadn't, I said, well, then you need to go talk to your daughter first and then come talk to me if you still have questions. Mm-hmm. And that went a long way because a lot of times they didn't talk. They didn't know, like, oh yeah, coach told me this, that, and the other, right? Or they did talk. They didn't really still understand. Then they came back. We had another conversation. I was like, oh, okay, I understand. Now, if a team is not the right fit for you at the end of the day because you think whatever it is you think, then that's your right. Go try and find another team. But it's not gonna. It's really gonna be hard to make that work out for that individual or that kid or that family in the long haul. You and I know this because we've been around for a long time. The newer players, the newer families coming into this, it's just something they got to learn, right? And not everybody is capable of letting their kids learn that themselves. And so it's unfortunate, but it's part of the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're kind of reaching that point where we're going to need to start wrapping it up, but I'm going to give you
Okay.
3 final questions. So kind of think of this as like not rapid fire, but more short version sort of answers. So like, we'll just start
You know
it
who
off.
I am, right?
Well, maybe that's why I prefaced it that way. Otherwise, it'll take a long time to
Yeah.
upload it.
I hear you.
Number one, biggest leadership mistake coaches make, any level.
Talking about a player against another player. So not using players to compete against each other to get better, but to compete against each other to win over the other person. That to me is the biggest mistake a coach can make. If you're not using that other player to help each other get better as a team, you're going to have a lot of issues.
Okay, great. Number two of three. What's that question? What's that thing that woke you up at 2 a.m. when you were coaching? Had good team, bad team, didn't matter. You rolled over in the middle of the night. You looked at the clock. You're like, dang it, it's 2 a.m. What's that thing?
This one's easy.
What's popped in your head?
This one's easy. When that parent sends a text, hey, I want to have a conversation with you when you get a chance or tomorrow. Don't do that to coaches. That's dumb. Just call them and have the conversation. If there's a 24-hour rule or whatever they got, follow that and then call them. Don't send a text saying, hey, I want to talk to you tomorrow. That doesn't help anybody.
You just rolled around constantly wondering what that thing was going to be about, right?
Yep.
All right, last one. What's the uncomfortableness? What's the uncomfortable truth about coaching? If it was you always had those ex-collegiate softball players, female coaches on your team. You guys got together after a game, after a tournament, you're on the road, you guys sat around. What's that uncomfortable conversation that you guys had that maybe not a lot of people know that you guys were having?
A lot of times it comes to like players in positions or what they did or didn't execute on. And honestly, at the end of a season, the uncomfortableness of the end of the season, right? Making determinations on what players you're going to ask back and what ones you've got to let go. That's a super uncomfortable conversation because you get connected to these young ladies no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's sort of that conversation that's had, and the timing of the year that it's had really sucks, but it's nature of the beast as well in the sport of travel ball. And that really kind of lends down to going from one team to the next, but
yeah. So then
that's a super uncomfortable.
So I lied. Here's the fourth one. So the flip side of that is, did you always take it personally? Did you sometimes take it personally? Was there a moment ever where you learned to never, no longer take it personally? But the flip side is players and families leave you. It's inevitable. Did that always affect you the same way throughout your career?
When I was younger, it impacted me. Like I took it personal. I was like, I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know why they'd want to leave. I try to give them the best thing. Not anymore. I mean, like after you've been through the ringer, you kind of understand like players and parents are going to do what they feel is best for their situation. You can never take that personal ever. I learned that along the way. I learned that, hey, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, or you might be for a little bit of time and then they need to change. Just be happy you were a part of that kid's journey. Honestly, when we had some girls that have left us that went on to do some really good things, and man, I celebrate them like they still were on my team. Like I was part of that journey. And when you learn how to do that as a coach, that's when you decide you start to grow because you don't take it personal. And if somebody's got to leave, hey, I love you. Good luck I'm rooting for you as long as you're leaving in the right manner, right? Like there's an etiquette to leaving a team. So, as long as you're doing right by me, then I don't ever have any problems. And I honestly, even if they didn't do it right by me, I wouldn't take it personal as a personal attack to me. I would just say, well, they don't, I'm never going to probably help that player out.
Yeah. Yeah. Great advice. Appreciate that answer because I think it's definitely something. If you're in the coaching space at all, if it hasn't happened to you already, it's going to happen to you countless times moving forward. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
great advice. And I think I was the same way. When you're younger, you take it personally. When it happens to you a bunch, you're like, yeah, good luck. You need anything in the future, I'm there for you. Um, I'm sure the paths always,
Yeah.
they cross again in the future, no matter what, it seems like. So, well, Randy, I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
all your time and energy and effort in this podcast. Anything that you want to add to this to wrap it up?
I would just like to tell the viewers, like the coaches, one piece of advice I got from Jose actually was when things started to make sense was, and it might sound a little tough, is if you're a coach in softball, I will say, approach it like nobody is your friend. There's not a family or a teammate or a coach that is your friend. Treat it that way. It's kind of a harsh reality, but in the end, that way you're never surprised about anything that happens. Always remember that it's you and you alone with your feelings. Accept the help, appreciate the relationships, but understand in the end, you don't have friends as a coach, right? Now you can do things outside of that, but as a coach, you don't have friends. And that was impactful for me. That helped me get by and start to understand how not to take it personal.
And who would have thought that we would wrap up this podcast with words of wisdom from
Was
from
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 Jose.
Jose? Uh,
Yeah.
we'll have to send this to him. Well, Randy, again, thanks for everything. Appreciate your
All right.
time. Good luck to all you,
Absolutely.
to everything that you got going on behind the scenes there, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. Take care.
Take care.